right, welcome back, everyone. I was just checking my notes, getting ready to go. Golden Boy here, back over at the desk, and now we're joined by a new analyst. We got my boy Kresnik here from G2 Esports. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. That was a great match to watch, actually. I mean, it looked really. And that looked like Navi was going to be super dominant coming in, and then DVB had that comeback, and everyone was just, what's going to happen?
You thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to get it. We thought we were going to get the upset to open up the Paladins World Championship, but Navi, while they're very happy, disappointing everyone here, and I'm kidding. Of course everyone wants to see, I want to see Navi go for this back-to-back, you know, for the third championship, right? And I want to see who's going to contest them. So now we look forward to our next game. We have G2 Esports versus FNATIC. G2, this is one of the, top-tier North American teams coming into this competition. FNATIC, they are a great squad in their own right. This is looking to be a great game, and the winner of this will go on to face off against Navi. So the road only gets harder from here.
For sure. I mean, this should be definite good game. We have G2 who is very good on LAN. We have FNATIC who are typically more potent on the online phase of the games, but have really been stepping up and showing up to be showing what they can do online and bringing it to the LAN stage now as well. So I'm very excited for this matchup.
Yeah, it's also one that happens a lot too.
Yeah.
I mean, they play in almost every LAN. I know G2 beat them, I believe, in the PPL Summer Finals, and then FNATIC took it back from them. The LAN, that was 2 days later. It happens a lot, and they clearly know each other pretty well from that.
Yeah, and I think that kind of was what I was going to lead into there, right? Like, these two teams have run into each other so many times, and you look at the seeding, right? And currently G2, they're a top seed over FNATIC, but really they're kind of like neck and neck, right? Like, there's no like seeding advantage here, and if anything, I think this is just another challenge here for FNATIC, who, as we mentioned in the pre-show, a team that has typically not had a lot of trouble with G2. Yes, sure, G2 beat them in the past, but these encounters have certainly gone in FNATIC's way more so than not. So, do you feel like FNATIC's feeling the pressure here, Bees?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's pressure. I feel like they're a very confident team, especially when they come up with the matchups that they believe they should win. They do tend to carry that confidence very well into the game. Fishko and Bitner famously playing fantastically now at the moment. So it's hard to say whether the nerves are going to kick in until the later stages, where they typically tend to falter in the long run.
Yeah, and the question, of course, is whether or not both of these teams are going to be able to stay composed in this game, right? Both squads going to really wear their emotions on their sleeve. So this is where I think it's going to get very interesting for whoever is going to take game one. How do they bounce back here? What do you think, Prez?
I think it's going to come down to they played LAN so much, right? And FNATIC finally got past that initial jitter of actually really winning something on LAN. They've always had that online performance that chokes up. It's gonna, whoever can carry that mentality of like, oh, we can win this, we can win this. And I think FNATIC actually, since they passed that gap, they passed that mental block that they had, I think they have a higher chance to bounce back.
So you really do feel like FNATIC is upper hand?
They're playing with a new player as well compared to the last LANs as well in Unbelievable, who's a fantastic player, and he's just very well known. He is. He's unbelievable.
Had to do it one time.
He's very well known for being very stable at LAN events, which is why they decided to bring him into the team. So maybe on top of their confidence that they have as a team in general, added in with that stability of Umbi, I think they're going to be a big monster this LAN, and I'm excited to see how they perform.
All right, so FNATIC now, what players on this squad do you think, Kresnik, are going to be the difference makers? Who are going to be the players to watch in this game?
The players that are going to make the most difference, I mean, Fishko, Tenor, they're both insanely, just incredible players. Fishko will have to show up on the Blasters. They're usually more influential on LAN. He's had historically very good performances. I would expect him to be the player to watch. The player that has to show up the most, I would say, would be the tanks from FNATIC. I think that the tank matchup between the two teams is going to be the deciding factor in the matchup.
It really does feel like, especially based off of game one, Navi and Virtus Pro, the tanks, man, they really change the tone, the momentum of the game, right? Whatever you're able to get in the picks and bans really dictate how that matchup's going to go. Do you really feel like we're in a meta right now that inadvertently just the tanks are really just a big focus here?
I mean, we see in most drafts that the tank is one of the most heavily contested in picks and bans, and there's the reason for that. The space they can create and the kind of momentum they they can create in a game just are so heavily influential on how, as you say, how you're going to play the remainder of the game. If you don't have an aggressive front line, how can you then take aggressive damage dealers? They're going to push in alone, they're going to die. So if you get forced onto these like backline picks, sometimes it can be an advantage, sometimes a disadvantage, and this is where the draft phase is so important, that the teams really do think about how their opponents play and try to counter pick and counter draft against them.
And as a tank player yourself, I mean, you know, obviously this is what you want to hear because it raises your stock a little bit,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. I love being influential.
Yeah, right. You love being influential. What I guess is your thoughts coming from that angle, that perspective? Do you really feel like we're in a position here? You had mentioned specifically the FNATIC tanks needing to show up here. You really feel like that's just a thing across the board that we're going to see throughout Paladins World Championship?
I think that the tanks, like, they all perform. Some of the tanks are just clearly better than others. So those tanks will be, getting those tanks in the draft is what's influential. And the DPSs are almost more counter picks to the tanks that you're against, depending on the legendaries you can pick up. You know, Leon into Torv, Cassie into Inara. It's all more counter pick oriented for the DPS, which is what gives the tanks more value.
So now you see the pick here. This was G2's pick. They go with Brightmarsh. Brightmarsh, interesting in game one, where we got the flashy Grok plays and all the fun stuff there. Do you think that either of these teams are going to try and bust out a pocket strat like that on Brightmarsh, like we saw VP do?
I would expect G2 too. Yeah. They love their pocket strats.
I agree.
Yeah,
definitely. If either team will do it, it will definitely be G2. Yeah. I mean, we see them take really interesting things that we've seen in the past from a lot of teams, like the pip pickups as a support. We've seen it from some teams in the past, but G2 really stick to their guns with these kind of compositions. And I think if anyone plays it well, it is them.
Yeah, and this is a great pick for them as a first map to set the momentum, because this map is so snowball. You win the mid, it's so hard to defend once the cart gets around that last corner, unless you expend ultimates. So if they can win this, get the momentum, get everything going in their favor, that's a great way to set the tone for the rest of the match.
And that will be the thing that we need to look out for, right? Who sets that tone? Who's going to be the one that controls the pace of this game? It's going to be very important here. And man, I'm really excited for this game because, and I don't know yet, so G2 really just going full in on the stars and stripes there.
Oh yeah, the new jerseys.
I respect that. I respect that.
For sure.
You know, that's exactly what you want to do. I may try and cop a G2 jersey myself now.
Yeah. It looks slick.
It looks really nice.
So slick.
The new mouse ones. You seen the new mouse ones?
Oh yeah. Oh, look at this guy. Look at him right
my
here.
God.
This dude.
They're good though. I'm not even plugging.
The mouse store while you're here?
Mouse store. We got a new Snipes line as well. Amazing clothing line.
This stopped being an analyst desk and it became essentially the red carpet with Joan Rivers. Bees is basically Joan Rivers here. He's like absolutely dreadful. Anyway, so Brightmarsh is going to be game one. We might see some crazy picks here from G2. FNATIC though, where do you think that they're going to go? What if you had to make your ideal draft for FNATIC here before we get into the picks and bans? Kresnik, where do you think we go here for FNATIC?
They want a Nara, I'm almost positive. EU loves point tanks. The Nara, the Barrack, the Fortress Breaker Ash when you don't have the other options. I wouldn't be shocked if G2 tried to take that away from them. They want a Blaster for Fish. With those two pieces, I think they can almost make anything work around that.
Really? Okay. And then what does G2 do then to try and counter that? Because we saw how effective Inara was on Stone Keep. So much so that Inara was completely banned out the rest of the series in the Na'Vi VP match.
I mean, I totally agree with Kresnik. I believe that FNATIC are definitely going to be looking to grab the Inara. So coming from G2, it's either going to be an insta pick from them to grab it just to take it away, or just maybe to get out of the picks and bans. I think it's very much going to be counter draft from the side of G2 to try and figure out what it is exactly FNATIC are going into. But on the reverse of that, FNATIC is such a flexible team, and they're very hard to counter draft because everyone on their team can almost play anything. You can say to Bitner, are you going to be comfortable if we randomly take Grok? Bitner's going to say yes. There's no way he will turn it down because he likes to be flexible. That's kind of his persona that he creates within the game.
So being flexible, I think, especially with the way that these players have been looking to draft and looking to try and like really single out particular roles, that's just going to play such a big role in this game. So I'm really excited to see where the picks and bans go here. here. We're going to be jumping into that in just a little bit. If you're just joining us here, welcome. Paladins World Championship 2018, live at HRX. We're here at Dreamhack Atlanta. Na'Vi managed to take out Virtus Pro 3-1. They're going to be sitting in the next round. Now the winner of this game will go on to face off against Na'Vi in the semifinals. That will take place tomorrow. Na'Vi gets a little bit of a breather for the time being. You have the North American G2 roster, a bunch of veterans on that team, names that we've seen in the past, guys like Cutie, whereas on FNATIC's end, you have some versatile players that have tons of capability to be able to do whatever they need to do in order for them to win the game. I'm excited for this because also you get the classic NA versus EU battle, which Paladins has really been hammering home. And then on the desk here, we have a little bit of the NA-EU action. Not to say that there's any bias.
I feel a little bit outnumbered. I'm not going to lie here.
Oh, no, I'm the unbiased, third party here.
You're the adjudicator, yeah?
America.
Unbiased. I don't know about him.
Yeah.
We're both pretty unbiased.
We're like the most unbiased people in the world, Freedom. That's just, I'm kidding. All right. So, waiting for this to start up here. And I guess we highlighted who are going to be the players on FNATIC, who are going to be the players on G2, I guess, that you got to look out for.
I think one of the guys to bring up on G2 is Bodies. He wasn't in the online split for the first half, which I think is an interesting point to bring up, to say, as the strength towards G2, they still managed to come into the second seed from North America whilst playing with a sub for a big portion of the online period. Now they're back at full strength, and from what I've been told, Bodies is kind of an influential member in the team when it comes to shot calling, and he's one of their main damage dealers. So I think if he shows up, we're going to see something special.
All right, well, now it's time to start the picks and bans here, and right away we get, okay, so Drogos and Ying get banned out. Then you're going to have the Kong. And then what is G2 going to go for? So no Inara focus, no Torvald focus.
With the Drogos being taken, I feel like they do really need to ban the Inara here. With the Drogos gone, you've already removed that instant kill potential to drop onto the Inara, which is probably the easiest way to deal with her in this meta. They have opted to go for the Khan. It's kind of interesting because now FNATIC gets the Inara, and there's
exactly what they wanted.
Exactly what they wanted. There's no Drogos ult to kill the Inara, and now G2 have actually also stripped their own Khan pick, which would also have been good for insta-killing the Inara off the point. He can grab the Inara through the window from the point and then drop her into the drink onto the side. A very effective way to get rid of the Inara.
So what's the play here? What does G2 go for?
I'm not sure.
I'll say they avoid point tanks at this point, because if you're fighting the Inara on the point as another point tank, it's basically not you both contesting, it's you looking at the Inara from slightly off the point saying, please don't finish the cap by the time my team wins the other fight. I think they want to look for an aggressive left side point fight, like left side fight, push across, take that open, get Poke to zone them out into the tree and nullify the value of the Inara.
I'm not going to lie. I see an Inara and a Torvald and a Lian. I mean, geez, that is just stacked.
There's strong composition coming out from FNATIC already. North America famously are much more interested in Fernando than Europe tend to be. He is a fantastic tank. He is picked up a lot in Europe, but he's more of like a second or third rotation tank, whereas in North America, he's very much a first pick potential, and I'm not quite sure as to the reason behind it.
I think here it's to have the immortal value for the aggressive push across the left if they want to stuff the Torvald, and because I don't think they want to get stuck with Ashe. I think Nando just has a lot more value in general right now.
That's true. And
unless you're getting a point tank.
Yeah, I agree with your point as well that they do need to stay away from the point tank at this point now.
Grover.
Hey, Grover.
All hail Emperor Grover.
Church of Grover.
That's right.
Praise be.
King Grover, Emperor Grover, the Church of Grover, whatever it is, praise be to the tree.
So the Grover actually works fantastically on this map because his heal was changed to passively heal through walls. He can take certain positions on this map where he is continuously healing the entirety of his team, and once you get some rejuvenates up on top of the passive healing of the Grover, that is a significant amount of healing coming through each and every second.
All right, the Ruckus has been locked in. Let's get some early predictions here for game one. Kresnik, who you got?
I'm going to say FNATIC's going to take this one.
I would not disagree with you.
I can't. I
want to be 50-50, but I can't disagree. It has to be FNATIC here.
And for my bias now tends to go to the EU because Grover is the man. Praise be to the tree. Spam that in the mixer chat, please. But now it is time to get into this game. I'm really excited to see how this one pans out, and I think I'm seeing it in the tree in the mixer chat. So that's what's up. Let's go ahead, send it over to your casters. You got Vox and Gormizer. Take it away, fellas.
Thank you so much, Golden Boy. Ladies, gentlemen, and NB friends, we've got a Grover. Gormizer, bless up and bow down. How you feeling about that?
I mean, everybody's eyes are on Grover. I'm looking at Fisheko's Eevee. Like, it's something we get to see.
But that's a Grover.
Maybe not as often. I mean, Grover's nice, but Fisheko's Eevee is just clean.
It is, okay, and there's a lot of potential here for FNATIC to really do some damage right. And looking at the predictions coming out from your commentary and your desk trio there as well, I think they're pretty accurate. G2, I feel like they've underestimated themselves, but I'm liking the potential for that immortal push from Fernando. I think that G2, it's all about that old school. Mizer, how about you?
I mean, when it comes down to it, it's going to be their pressure, how much they can push. I think a lot can be said about Cuss Cuties Fernando and what he is able to accomplish with it. I will say one of the best in A, at least, able to accomplish that. But, I mean, you're pushing into a Nara, you're pushing into Torvald, like some of the best defensive front lines that you're going to be able to go up against. And so it's going to be difficult, I think, for him to be able to accomplish much. You're looking at drop bodies and dose-ups here to really open that space.
So talent-wise, Gore, anything a little unusual that you noticed there, or all more pretty standard, right?
Mostly pretty standard, seeing Grover come through. I mean, a long time ago, you would have seen him maybe look at damage, but he is going to be all focused, all healing right now, and First Blood assisting as Bugsy cleans it up.
Look at this, Cuss Cutie coming around for a flank here, trying to put the pressure on, but nothing really happening so far. I drop bodies and Cuss Cutie found one each, but look at this, Gormizer. It's 39% and rising on the objective for FNATIC. They've got the Inara down there. They're just happy to sit on point right now, and nobody can get them off. G2 Esports are looking for a way in, but they can't find another kill.
Drop body's just missing a little bit too many shots, too low health himself, and can't take this fight against Eevee the way he wants to. 72% picked up for FNATIC, and they seem comfortable. Even though things aren't all going in their favor, they're still finding all of the percentage and the pressure they need.
Now, G2 have forced FNATIC away from the objective right now, but they're not looking up, and they need to be aware of this Eevee. Jera finds one. Fish Echo cleans up a second. Dose-Ups does get one in trade. Cuss Cutie as well to Bugsy there, but it's a double kill for Fish Echo right now. Looking for the triple, finds it, can't find the quadra kill as his Bitterness steals it away. That's FNATIC getting a free capture, all because of that airborne threat.
I mean, these two teams both have been #1 seed up until this last split. They've been able to trade blows at LAN up until this last split, and now I feel like we're seeing FNATIC potentially pull themselves ahead. Torvald Eevee has been a deadly combo, and Fish Echo Eevee has been an even deadlier combo. You put them all together, and I feel like you get yourself a nice, very quick 2-minute point.
Look at this. Look at the beautiful impasse placing right now from this Inara. Sets up an Isbit and a double kill. Sets up an Isbit and a triple kill. That's 2 triples we've seen so far, Gormizer. Can they find a quadra kill? There goes the bubble. Great reversal. But no, Isbit finds a 4K, and Bugsy cleans up the last one for a full team wipe.
The thumbs down is there. The just effort coming down from FNATIC. I mean, it looks so clean, so crisp. These Torvald bubbles are on point. Death and taxes being applied almost all the time here to G2. They don't feel like they have a safe place to go, and honestly, I'm looking at Androx's drop bodies. He isn't having any pressure.
And that's what I was going to say, Gore. We kind of expect FNATIC to come out with a first point capture because they have the Inara Torvald, right? It's a lot of early game pressure. But how did G2 Esports mount a defense here? This snowball is happening so quickly. There's a whirlwind coming through. Bugsy finds Cuss Cutie. That's huge, Gore. Can they hold?
Dose-Ups is going to have to do a lot of work, and that is not going to happen. He gets taken out, boot the front lines offline, and now they're just going to be able to pick up kills left and right. Vex goes out, and FNATIC, I mean, they brought their brooms. They're sweeping.
They really are. It's all looking positively janitorial on stage right now, folks. Let's take a look at our itemization if we can to see exactly what's going to break down, and this is the worry, right? You've got that effective Cauterize 3 and now a Record 2 online for Isbitner, sitting at the top of the damage charts alongside Fisheko. Cauterize 2 for them as well. Big streaks on FNATIC. Talk to me about G2's itemization. Have they got anything worthwhile on the board?
I mean, not having enough credits to go into a Record 2, into Cauterize 2. You can see a couple of secondary items being picked up by Cuss and Dose-Ups, but the economy is completely in FNATIC's favor here. They have no room to really buy any items, and meanwhile, you're looking at Bittner, who has a Record 2 as well as a Blast Shield. Like, he is covered in what he needs to do, and when you look at Cuss, when you look at Dose-Ups, when you're looking at the defense for G2 to be able to hold, Bittner's going to just burn through them.
Well, folks, it all comes down to this. Would G2 Esports be able to make a bit more of a stand on this objective? They're going around looking for a flank again. Unbelievable is aware of it. Up in the air, Androxus does drop the accursed arm. High drop bodies, finds one, finds a double kill. Will they pick up Grover for a triple? Escaping back towards the Inara, but that is like shooting fish in a barrel right now. And this is the start that G2 Esports needed to be able to at least get some capture control.
Being able to swing it around, but FNATIC still pick up 42%, so they aren't going home without nothing. But this is going to be where
where it becomes very important. Dismounts on Bright Marsh. There's not a lot of room between base and point, so you have to be on point in order to be able to maintain control. And with comeback mechanic, that's what G2 wants.
Oh, look at that as well. That capture is going up so fast, Gore. It's the comeback mechanic that you mentioned. I drop bodies, takes out Fisheko. That's the big one. But Inara's on the point. There's this seismic crash. There's the impasse. Oh my goodness. Will this be 70 or 80% coming through as this Bittner cleans up and FNATIC somehow they come back in with the retake?
I mean, there is one member of G2 standing trying to hold still, but again, those shields are going to do nothing. Bittner does not care about what you are trying to stand for, what your health bar says. He is going to burn you down. And FNATIC, even though comeback mechanic is against them, just push through.
Well, so Gord, walk me through what happened there, because we saw some really aggressive zoning coming out from G2, and then suddenly Inara's on the point. What happened?
It's where the focus is oriented. They're trying to deal with this Eevee. They're trying to shut it down. Fisheko does get taken out. They accomplish that job, but Inara slips by, Bittner slips by, and those two as a combo, frontline as well as damage, are just too strong to ignore right now. Because of that, you're seeing this pressure. It's just a constant push. Of course, Unbelievable is just doing his job, sitting back and bubbling anybody who's in danger.
You literally are a bubble bot when you're playing Torvald right now. You don't have a huge amount of aggro pressure. You're anti-dive if somebody gets close to you right now. A good aggressive zone from G2 Esports right now. They've managed to force a few members of FNATIC back, but not without a trade, Gore. That's the thing. They're relying on respawn proximity here. What's the priority target for you? If you're G2 Esports, what are you looking to shut down on FNATIC's team to make this defense possible?
I mean, coming forward the defense, you need to look at Bittner. I think Fisheko is warranting a lot of offense just because of the ground he can give, the distraction factor that we see flanks provide. But it's all Bittner. I mean, he's coming in like he's getting a big bubble every single time it comes up. He's got the death and taxes. He's got the wrecker online. He's the one popping your shields. He's the one shooting people out of the air. He is the biggest threat right now. And if you can get rid of him, you alleviate so much stress of your G2.
And we really can't forget as well that Enlightenment, that big ultimate from Leon, also gets bonus damage for Torvald's field study. Talent right there, and here we go. Push starting off. 1 minute on the clock, Gore. It is 3-0 right now in favor of FNATIC at 6 minutes and 30 seconds in. Ultimates are up and ready for G2 Esports. There's a whirlwind. There's a bit of a disengage from FNATIC comes on through. Looking for the damage is Bittner. Bugsy, Fisheko find two. Can they burst down this front line? Fernando drops into Immortal, just buying time for respawns. But Gore, it's looking dismal.
Immediately after Immortal goes down, he's going to drop as well as drop bodies going out. The Enlightenment comes through and he finds the shot. Bittner goes for the long range one, and FNATIC take that 4-0.
Just insult to injury right there. You don't need to find that kill. You don't need to go looking for it. But Bittner says, I need to pad my stats. My kill feed isn't big enough right yet. That is a 4-0 sweep in around 7 minutes for FNATIC on Bright Marsh, Gore.
I mean, for a team that has been having as rough a year on LAN as FNATIC, almost always making it to the #2 spot every single time they come around, that's a good way to start off your world.
It certainly is, and after a placement round, once they came out as the #1 seed from the placement round that has just concluded, they were pushed to their limit by a couple of teams. We saw Kanga Esports take, 3-3 scorelines against them 2 games in a row and almost push it over to a win for them. So FNATIC having that first win, having that security inbound, that's going to do a lot for their morale. That's going to do a lot for just their, I guess, consolidation of feelings, right? It's like, we do deserve to be here, and we're here to win, Gore.
Well, a lot of pressure and control today has been just warranted with the Inara, and I feel like that's kind of where we're seeing things go. So many times during that game
this
where
is my shocked face right now.
Going by.
The pressure is from the Inara.
I mean, what are you
oh my
do?
goodness.
Inara's going to be standing on the point. If you don't kill her fast enough, she's just going to accrue percentage every step of the way.
That is pretty much the entire role of Inara there, folks. But that'll do it from us for the time being. Let's head back to the desk to break down map #1 of Bright Marsh.
Thank you so much. I got to get the Borker here and just cover his eyes.
Don't look, Borker. Don't look.
There are children. There are children in the audience here, people. Okay, like it's just what? That was just insane.
I think
FNATIC just rolled them.
Yeah.
That was straight up easy clap. Like, I mean, it does not. When you get the Torvald, you get the Leanne, you get the Inara, and they were putting so much pressure on dismounting, so that this way they could not. Because as Aya mentioned, right, Bright Marsh, very narrow lane, so you want to dismount quickly when they are on their mount. So that this way they have to take a longer time to get there. But then the Inara just
I'm not quite sure how the Inara got through. I didn't even see it myself.
I didn't see it at all.
It's the fact they also expended ults to use on the zone. They used the big ults like the Fernando ult to try and secure this zone, but just let the Inara go through. So it's just
because then the whole thing falls apart. The whole thing falls apart once Inara gets there.
Precisely.
So much sustain, stays alive, and then at that point you have the Leanne just pushing forward. And then can we talk about the Leanne? Because
non-stop damage.
Free damage, non-stop, as you had said.
Yeah, they didn't want to look at her. Their whole goal was to burst down the Torv, who can't really sustain himself, to get the Grover. Like, they were just trying to shove and catch those people out. The Leon was just free shooting. They didn't really they didn't care other than that one time that she kind of fed the pick the second mid.
And your Steel Series MVP will be Isbitner on the Lian, and I mean, yeah, why not? Because 63,000 damage, 6.3 KDA. I think this one's definitely worthy of your Steel Series MVP with the impact that Lian had in that game. That was a, what was that, a 4K there as well?
With a stolen penta, I think.
Jeez.
Fantastic play from him. He's a phenomenal player, and he's really starting to show up on that.
And this was the play when the Inara was able to get behind and then get on the point. And Isbitner's like, oh great, you're causing that distraction? All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and slay. And the Inara,
yeah, you see as well, she walls off the point. So as G2 try to retreat, they're actually fully blocked off to take the damage from the Lian. There's nowhere for them to hide anymore.
That was clinical. And I do have to talk about that wall play too, because it didn't register with me at first when I saw it, but that placement on the wall prevented anyone from being able to challenge the point, forced them to have to go around, which again just gives Lian free reign. That's just some beautiful synergy between those champions.
And they used all their sustain to try to get that aggressive zone. When they backed up, they didn't have any way to keep themselves alive through the Lian's pressure, so they just couldn't make it out before the wall went down.
The combos they had as well, we see on the left side of the map when they push through, the Inara wall goes up, the Lian gets one pick. After the one pick, the Eevee blinks in with the ult into the other pick for the Penta, for the Lian. Phenomenal play from FNATIC. They're really showing what they're made of and what they're capable of.
So much pressure, right? And what are you supposed to do there? That game was, and he's getting written on his head, God bless. That game was won in the picks and bans.
Oh, for sure, definitely.
I mean, and credit, he must have a really flat head.
He does, especially a lot of pressure from Theo. Theo known as the human gym, so that's a lot of muscular strength pushing down there on Bitner's head.
The human gym.
You need some band-aids on the stage for that guy's scalp right now? I think it might be.
I don't know, man. Maybe he's doing that because he just needs to cool off, you know, after having that dominating game. But all right, so we're going to Serpent Beach for game 2 here. I believe this will be G2's pick because they had lost, so Serpent Beach. Thoughts?
Serpent Beach is kind of a mixed match kind of map. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of play it. I think the aggressive tanks might not be as good for the side of G2 here if they let the Inara slip through again, but then again, the aggressive tanks are good for taking the high ground on this map, which can counter out the Inara. It's a very specific map, and I think it's going to come down to how the players play more so than the draft in this game.
One thing they could do is let them get a pretty good high ground comp, and then just having the aggressive tanks let them take it. Now there comes from the low ground. They're not getting as much of an advantage as they would have liked to with their composition.
So we saw in the first picks and bans, no Inara focus, right? Which, you know, made sense, kind of feeling it out, right? Same thing happened in game 1. But then they let the Torvald and the Lian go through. There are a lot of things that basically G2 need to ban out and also take away at this point in time.
This is the point I made earlier about FNATIC as well. They're a very difficult team to do that to, because you take away one composition for them and they can play the next composition and the composition after that. They're not a team that you can kind of easily strip away their play style, because they can play everything.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge problem here, but now we're going to go into the picks and bans, and it will be FNATIC's ban here to start. See what they go with here.
I would say probably a pretty standard thing from them. It could be a blaster to allow them to stay on high ground longer if they want to play that back line, or it could just be a power tank, you know, whether it be a Mako or a Khan.
I'm surprised that G2 have elected to give FNATIC the first pick again, given that the first pick is very easy for them to grab the stronger tanks to play to their game.
Goes, and this went,
no Inara ban.
It was literally the same one.
Yep. They're going to let the Inara...
Why ban the Drogos? First.
I mean, the Drogos is good because, as I said, the Drogos counters the Inara really well. The thing with when you're on the LAN and the nerves, it gets very hard to be coordinated enough to take out the remainder of the enemy team and then turn back for the Inara. I mean, G2 played the last game correctly. They didn't go for the Inara. They pushed around to try and kill the backline. They just didn't do it well enough. So with the removal, oh, how interesting. They're electing to give away the Inara.
She doesn't do quite as much on this map being on the low ground. If you push and take the flat, then you could just turn and burn her. It's not like she has as free of a getaway that she does on Bright March.
That's very true. That's very true.
All right, so the Torvald goes first. You get the protection with the bubble. You get a lot of good stuff. A good kit there with Torvald, but what is G2 going to do? And I'm sure maybe they were thinking that they were going to go for the Inara. I wouldn't be shocked, even though you said it's not as good, but you know that EU likes to favor that. So surely
Most
they were
definitely.
thinking, oh yeah, they're going to go first pick Inara, which is exactly what we want them to do, because then we can punish them when Inara is on the low ground.
Yep.
So this seems like G2's taking a little bit more time to think about what they want to do.
like a normal
Fernando
team,
gets
but
picked
with
again, priority there, and then the Lian
There
goes
is no
through. So I
middle
do
ground.
like the Lian decision there.
Yeah,
that is
definitely.
a great damage dealer to take here.
She's excellent into Torvald, too. She has the cauterized value from Death and Taxes, while also getting the Wrecker, while
not
being more mobile
welcome
than
here.
Vivian. She does Vivian's job while being able to dash around.
But they still got the Inara.
Yeah.
Now the Maldamba.
And the Damba now on top of the Inara, and the best thing as well, FNATIC's just gone through their second rotation, and they've kind of not given anything away still.
Yeah.
We don't know the damages that they're going to go for. Is it going to be a more flank-orientated composition, more backline-orientated composition? Like, so
Yeah.
G2 now has to take 2 picks into almost a blind draft still.
And it felt like the Lian grab was more of a takeaway from from FNATIC than it was, you know, them wanting to go for that. But then again, though, Lian is so strong.
She is. She's a safe pick.
Yeah, so it's not the worst thing in the world there, obviously. But you're right. Now they're going in blind here in
Bringing
Kresnik.
out the big guns.
Bring out the big guns.
I wouldn't be surprised now if we see a Victor coming out from FNATIC. The Victor with the Torvald shield we've seen them be doing has been very potent. The damage that comes from the excessive shield of the Torvald with the Victor allows you to burst out the damage dealers within about 2 grenades, and you can't hide from that. Even when you're hid behind a wall of line of sight, that grenade is still going to hit you if it's placed correctly.
Kresnik, your thoughts here. I want to bring you in because now this is going to be FNATIC's 2 picks, and at this point, G2's just going.
They're looking to
safe.
take the high ground.
Yeah.
100%, I would say. So yeah, FNATIC doesn't want to play a composition that relies on that high ground. If they get pressured onto, they lose that zone, that area that they want to control. Their composition is going to be quite as much. Eevee lets them be mobile. They can blink into the backline DPS, the Leon Cassie that are trying to take it, and Victor can withstand the pressure. Run scramble, maybe DR on sprint. You get pressured, sprint away with 20-25% damage resistance, and just pummel them back with nades once they're trying to take your high ground.
And Bees, you called it. You said that the Victor could go really well into this composition. FNATIC, seems like they heard you.
The Eevee also complements it really well because the Eevee can play very safe, consistently jumping in and out, poking, and causing distraction for G2 that doesn't allow them to get the aggression needed to push onto the Victor and take the damage out away from FNATIC.
And Furia will be the last pick here, as Bees likes to call her, the support with the beam.
What's the one with the beam again?
What's the one with the beam again? And that is going to be Furia. All right, predictions real quick. Who do you think this draft favors here? This is a very interesting one.
I'm gonna have to say FNATIC again, I think.
I totally agree. We've seen them play this already on the online split, and they did it so phenomenally that I can't not side with them in this instance.
Before we go to the game, Kresnik, what is G2's win condition here?
They want to be hyper aggressive. That's why they took the Furia. They have to get a pick early and before the Eevee can make a difference. They have the Furia, I think, almost specifically for the ultimate, the Inflame, the damage boost, the speed boost to take that ground that they want faster. It's exactly their style, but I don't know if FNATIC's going to let them do it.
The only thing that concerns me is, are they going to have the healing support needed with the Furia to do all that they need to do?
Yeah, that's very true here. And the question was asked, but now it is time to seek out the answer. Let's head over to our casters for game number 2. Gore, Vox, over to you.
Thanks once again, Golden Boy. Now, Gore, I'm just going to pose a quick prediction for you. 3 rounds, FNATIC take a 2-0 in the first one. Furia's Inflame lets G2 do good stuff on round 2, but they don't get the push. FNATIC cap for the final one. A repeat of what we saw in set 1. How's that sounding to you?
About right.
But
the way we
growing.
typically see these kinds of games go, but I think a lot is going to fall onto Fisheko, again playing distraction, but Bittner this time around, because one of the
Bittner's
things
so
about
good
Victor,
on this map.
one of the things that people were talking about during placements, the reason Victor looks so good, it's because Bittner's playing it, and already he's starting off with a lot of damage.
That's first blood. Boxy is actually the one who picks that up, but finds Vex looking for a bit of a flank there. Bittner cleans up Evil Eye as well, and now everybody from G2 Esports with their support, and one of their primary damage dealers down is on the retreat, but Bittner is not letting up on the gas. Puts the foot down, finds one. Grenade doesn't hit Zoe's up, so here comes the beam, bit of healing through, and FNATIC back off their Gore. They don't want to overextend.
It's a smart call. Fall back, don't overexert yourself like you had said, and make sure that you're in the right area because you're just looking for a zone. You're looking for the point. You're not on a push. You don't need to gain this ground. You just need to make sure that G2 doesn't reclaim it. And with the way things are going, I mean, Bittner's hitting headshot after headshot after headshot, almost literally because it's full auto. But I mean, with the grenade pressure as well as just the generic pressure he's being able to put out, no one's been able to approach FNATIC.
And that grenade pressure is so good for forcing out damage dealers. That's what was said by Bees on the back desk, if I'm not mistaken. And look at that, Leon has to dodge out of the way. Nara's going up to the high ground. Bugsy's playing flank right now. Isn't going for the kind of toaster strudel idea right there, but still a killing spree for Bugsy, and his Bittner comes on through. 1 minute and 55 seconds left on this payload push, and it's already halfway through, Gore.
I mean, finally, Vex Bodies putting their name on the board, getting G2 at least a couple of kills, at least a little bit of pressure, but Bittner still returning it. The payload's still moving. G2 are putting out their support on the front line to find kills instead of anyone else. I mean, Cuss is getting backed up into walls. You haven't been able to see anything out of Dosage. Like, they just need to completely regroup at this point. Try to keep hold of this high ground, but figure out a different approach than just rushing FNATIC.
And now I think that has happened, right? Because the high ground control is very much over to G2 Esports, but again, look at this displacement coming through for Nara. That's critical right there. And Bugsy chases down Evil Eye, looking for another one. Out comes Barrage. One dunks down it. I drop bodies, gets dropped immediately. Vex 30 can't handle 2 of those missiles. And this game's looking like it's going 2-0 without much resistance unless G2 Esports want to waste ultimates here. But Gore, is it worth it?
Not at all. I mean, with the way things are going, a minute left, you're still going to be dropping like flies, and they don't really have a lot of ultimates to use. I mean, Scout available towards the tail end of that.
Oh my goodness,
another
we
one
can
was
see them
charged
pushing
up,
for free.
There was nothing that was going to be able to alleviate any of the pressure FNATIC is applying.
So Gore, talk to me about that last round. We saw that go so easily to FNATIC with a couple of kills quickly going their way. Bugsy obviously getting the first one. Why was that point so far ahead for FNATIC by the time that we started seeing some movement?
It all starts with Fisheko and Bittner. A grenade and a blast from Eevee will just clear up a lot of the health bars, especially on the lower bodies like an Eevee or like a Leon as well. I mean, just look at the damage he's doing. That's already 45k, and that is just, I can sit back, whether or not your front lines are in my face, I can just shoot them, but throwing that grenade applies so much.
You see, I don't like to do math on the fly, but I think the next highest that we saw from the side of G2 Esports was around 12k from a Ruckus. That's almost 4 times the amount of damage the Bittner is doing right now. That is insane. Once again, here's the other big condition for FNATIC. They have a Nara, they put them on the objective. Leon's already half health right there. I drop bodies is in trouble. Hexafire does come on through. His Bittner has already found Cuss Cutie though. Hexafire finds nobody. In Flame as well, does not get anyone. And here it comes the frag grenade, forced down immediately. What a beautiful combo. Fisheko capitalizing on Dread Serpent. Is Bittner and Fisheko just cleaning up here, and it's looking like it's curtains. Gore, my prediction is going so awry.
I will tell you, it is not easy to lose a fight when you have Inflame popped, and that is just a boost to what FNATIC have been able to apply, knowing exactly when to fall back, when to use their ult. Seismic Crash, as well as the Ice Storm, the Dread Serpent, all used there to maintain control and keep themselves ahead. It didn't matter what G2 threw at them because they were ready for it, they were prepared, and now they're sitting up 3-0 again.
So Gore, you just mentioned that it's hard to lose a fight when Inflame is active. What does that ultimate do for viewers at home who might not be familiar with Furia, as we rarely see her right now?
Everyone on the team is going to do more damage and move a lot faster. And it's coming up to the point where it's, you know, numbers that are up in the 30% that you're looking at. It's a very, very dangerous ult when you are on the opposing side of it, when you're dealing or having that damage dealt to you. But the problem is the way FNATIC dealt with it was to focus down the biggest threats. Hexafire comes through, but it's in a very awkward spot. There's not a lot of view.
Didn't hit anybody, Gore.
And the same thing comes down. Leon doesn't really have the view to find the shot she needs.
And a big part of that, I think, as well, we're going to go back to it again, folks. It is Bittner just dropping these frag grenades in, and then if necessary, Fisheko comes in as well and just throws an extra Ice Staff blast coming through, but that's an immortal. Is Bittner. That streak gets shut down. Hexafire fully charged from that, so a big play right there. But this could be the push coming through. There's the Hyper Beam. There's FNATIC, and that's another 4-0 on map number 2.
Compared to the FNATIC we saw that would fall apart at LAN, that were not performing, this is a step up. Fisheko and Bittner have been huge question marks at LAN this entire year, and now that they're showing up, FNATIC is a completely different team.
And we can't deny as well that we wonder how much of this is just due to the cohesion that these teams might have now that Unbelievable has taken the role over from Theo of main tank, and maybe that's just brought something else to the table, right? Maybe that's allowing a little bit of flexibility in champion pools, or just in positioning, which wasn't there before. But Gore, this is FNATIC 2-0. They haven't dropped a single point yet in this set, and they're looking like they're going to go ahead and maybe finish this one completely janitorially if they can carry on like that.
I mean, at this point, every draft has gone their way. They seem to be going through it perfectly, exactly the way they need to. So we're looking at G2 trying to figure out the threat before the game even starts. They have to start looking at this Torvald, the Anara, what exactly Bittner is going to be able to pull to. You can't really take away his pool cool, but you can try to draft against it.
And there are so many questions there, Goran. Who better to answer them than Golden Boy on the desk, folks?
Just me, only me. I'm the only one that will answer all of the questions, and I will tell you exactly what's going on right now, Vox. G2's getting stomped.
Oh.
These are just facts. I'm sorry, I gotta keep it 100 with you people at home. You folks in Mixer deserve that much. Anyway, welcome back here. We got Chris, we got Bees on the desk. Guys, seriously, what is going on?
I wish I could tell you.
I am just shocked. I am shocked and appalled because G2 is getting stomped, and it's just not something that I would expect to see here.
Yeah, they seemed confident. I mean, talking to them beforehand, going into this, but I don't feel like they were ready for the flexibility of FNATIC, which, I mean, it's a team they've played before. They should be ready. They should know what's coming. They're a team that always likes to counter draft. It likes to deny you things that you want, and it just feels like they're kind of giving them. I mean, that draft was when they played against VP in the qualifiers, and it did the same exact thing.
I mean, you say they like to, G2 likes to deny, right? But are they really denying? Because they're just allowing at this point, Bees.
I think sometimes in these circumstances, you almost play yourself in a manner of sense. Like, you're thinking to yourself, we're going to take this away from them. We're going to make sure they don't get this. When in actual fact, the enemy team's just turning around and saying, you've just given me everything I really wanted. So sometimes it's better to just go for them safer picks and bans and then kind of just play the draft out from there.
I'm blown away by this. These have been some insanely short games, and
for sure,
you go in, you want to take down some notes, you want to analyze what we're seeing here, but there really isn't all that much to break down. Maybe there's a story in the stats. Let's go ahead and take a look at this for the post-game stats here, and I mean. Yeah, I guess that'll do it. If you only have 3 kills the whole game, that will surely play a role there. Is Bittner on the victor? 11 kills for him. This has just been clinical by FNATIC.
Mm-hmm. Watching the mids, it looked like they just weren't ready for the Torv Victor damage. Cuss was walking in. By the time he was shielding, he was like 1,000 health.
Yep.
And that shield, I just melted. It just disappeared. And he couldn't kite away in time.
It's the point that I made with the Furia pickup. It's, in theory and practice, the idea of taking the damage to be more aggressive works. But if you don't have the sustain to push in with the damage, then your team dies. And that's what we've seen happen. As soon as they start trying to get that momentum even into getting close to the victor, your backline's dead. Yeah. So then what are you going to do when you're in front of them with just a tank?
To kind of quote other games that I work on, it was almost as if it was a dive versus a counter dive. Yeah. And the dive was coming in, but it just was getting absolutely shut down. And when you're not pushing in, not only as a unit, but you're not target calling, you're not focusing down anyone. Like everything just falls apart, right? It is a very much a composition that is focused. It felt like on okay, here's a person, take him out. Here's a person, take him out, and then that's like where you go from there. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but Presnick, it really just felt like they were countered 100% every time they try to push.
Yeah, they were overestimating the amount of pressure they could get on the high ground. You could tell looking at the execute on the second point. They had the Hexafire coming from a mile away because they're like, oh, we're going to push them off high ground. They're going to back up, and then the Hexafire is going to destroy them. But they just died, and then the Hexafire was just kind of there waving, saying, there's a lot of damage here. You don't need to take it if you don't want to. They just couldn't get the execute they wanted.
Hey, guys, come here. I got some candy.
All right, well, here, map 3 will be Ice Mines.
Oh.
Okay.
Thank you, man.
I mean, I know why they would take this one. They want to go for the 3-3. I think they want some points on the board before the end of the set.
They want some points on the board, so you go for the 3-3, and then it's a basic toss-up at the end there. I mean, at this point now, right, we've covered that both of these two teams are very momentum-driven, momentum-based. You have FNATIC that are steamrolling right now. They're an engine that simply will not be stopped. And have G2 kind of caved? Do you think that they've caved? Do you think they have a chance here to bounce back in Game 3?
I think they're definitely not in a great state right now. But Ice Mines is a map that you go to when you want to. This is a map to equalize that. The odds of you capping, even if you're like a significantly better team, are pretty low. It's just so easy to defend on Ice Mines. You can spam down at the cart from almost being invincible. There's just such long sight lines you have to push through. The defenders have massive high ground. So it being 3-3, lets them stall the momentum after every single push, and then get that reset that they might want to think about the next mid.
All right, well, here come the picks and bans, and we're going to start with G2's ban here. What are they going to go for here?
I'm glad to see G2 go for the first pick here instead of the second pick like the other ones. I feel like they were giving too much power away to FNATIC instantly within the draft, and then kind of trying to stagger their way back after an initial bad pick.
Torvald is removed, and then you have the Makoa out of the fight as well. Makoa has not seen much action here today. Very powerful front line, and on a map like Ice Mines, you simply just don't want that. And then speaking of powerful front lines, you have Khan, and G2 remove that one from play as well.
I like the denial of the Tor from G2.
Sure.
They love aggression, right? They want to walk at you, similar to SSG. They want to pressure you. They want you to not know what they don't want you to have a plan. And Torvald provides so much extra sustain to the composition that it lets them reset, back up, re-heal, and think about what to do next.
FNATIC now deciding what they want to go with here on the ban, and it is okay. So the Fernando. That is very interesting, because that has been like G2's like thing. It's like, all right, guys, we're here at picks and bans. Fernando, and they go each and every time.
Who's the surfer dude on G2? That you were just pretending to be? Oh, wow.
He'll kill me. Okay, so the Fernando gets banned, and if you're G2, you're like, huh? Like question marks, I'm sure, right?
I think they're still probably going for a point tank probably at this point. I mean, Inara, this map is super tank heavy and strong ultimately. You want to be able to zone once you win the fight, and you need good tanks to do that. So G2 starting with the first pick Inara does not surprise me in the slightest.
Take that away from FNATIC. Don't allow them to have that at all, Bees.
Yeah, it's odd now as well, because you would believe that the would go into the Inara, and then the Fernando actually works really well as the aggressive tank on this map, probably the best aggressive tank on this map, because when he pushes through onto the stage side of the map and gets into the enemy's windows, he can do exceptional damage with those fireballs. So I'm not quite sure now how the FNATIC is going to draft into this, because they've lost the best point tank. The best aggressive tank is gone, so where do they push now from this?
Taking the best support away is definitely one way to
start. Definitely a good start.
The best support and one of the best blasters.
They get the Drogos. They get that great AOE damage. It's definitely going to impact Inara for sure.
And as I said earlier as well, the insta-give now from the Drogos though is going to be fantastic at ensuring the Inara isn't doing what we've seen her do so frequently, infinitely contesting the point without anyone to stop her.
Yeah, and the Immortal counter to the Drogo's ult is gone. He's going to be getting a ton of value out of that. There's really no way for them to avoid it on this mid unless they play outside of the cabin and all have sight lines onto the Drogos, but you can't do that.
Let's get this done.
Victor is going to be the pick here.
They're going to have to try and play aggressive. Drogos can take a lot of angles on this map where he's just not visible to some of the enemy damage dealers. So they're going to have to do something to make sure they're pushing the Drogos out. And in honesty, I'm not sure whether Victor Lian are the ones to do that. They're more commonly used in the backline in the windows, so Drogos could have a lot of free reign to damage onto the point.
Unless they do try to prioritize. If Drogos has fly, you can shut it down in theory with a Victor or a Lian, right? You have a lot of direct hit scan damage, so
yeah.
This is definitely a ground lizard game. He's not going to be hitting the skies too much against their competition.
And he won't really need to, right? Because there's going to be so much protection now that the Ashe and the Barrack are going to be out, and then the Ying is going to be healing with the clone. So this is very interesting.
I do like the Vic into the Barrack, and I do like the Vic into their tank composition. I feel like he can get away from the Ashe pretty decently well, and his ult is super good into Barrack.
Into Barrack. The Barrack
is so good into Dome Shield.
He counters the Barrack ult really well with that.
Question is, will he be able to execute? That has kind of been G2's problem here. Despite them having some interesting picks, they don't get to execute. Cassie's going to be the last pick there as well. Oh boy, who do you got? Kresnik.
This is a more reactive comp, I think, from G2. Unless the Ruckus dives, I feel like they're not going to be forcing the issue. Executing has been their issue, so I'll say G2 for this one, because I think reactive play is going to be better for them.
All right, Kresnik thinks we're going to go to a game 4. Bees.
I have to disagree. I think they have good damage on the side of G2. I don't think they have the confirmation in the kills with their backline composition, so I'm going to, again, go for FNATIC on this one.
So it comes down to the execution, and that is going to be the thing that we need to look out for in this matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, can G2 force a game 4, or will they be sent home right now? Let's send it over to your casters, Gore and Vox.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the commentary portion of the Paladins World Championship 2018 Speedrun Edition. The European Landulance is on its way, and G2, they've cranked up the difficulty a little bit. We have gone Ice Mines. Do you think that FNATIC can still pull out a new world record here, or will they throw the book at G2 and will we be going straight to a 3-0?
Ice Mines is a hard one to try and find yourself up 4-0. I feel like if you're looking again, last point fight, 3-3, G2, the way Kresnik put it is perfect. It's the reactionary play. It's what you're coming back with more than what you are starting out. So early on, I think FNATIC are going to be able to gain that momentum. It's how well they hold on to it, I think, that decides G2's fate.
So, big game right there. We saw just go over the Cassie. That's a talent which does a lot of bonus damage versus front lines right now. Do you think that's going to hurt G2's lineup here? Do you think that's going to hurt the survivability, Gore?
Honestly, if you have Bittner just sit up here safe, it's going to cause a lot of trouble. But because of that, what you see right there, just a grenade toss into the right area, that's going to cause a lot more trouble. It's going to make sure that FNATIC can't set up on the balcony. It's going to give a little bit more play room to G2 and maybe open up a little bit more for them to find this point.
We'll have to see if they can find a kill. No first blood yet, folks. 1 minute and 25 seconds on the clock as FNATIC are, again, 2-0 up in this set. It is G2 going do or die. A lot of pressure coming through from Dozups so far. Is Bittner, though, finds eye drop bodies for kill number 1, and now the aggression starts. FNATIC going in. Ruckus goes off the map as Bittner finds a second kill. Evil Eye has taken a trade, but is it too little too late?
I mean, this is pretty much where you want to go. You finally get rid of Bittner, but is it going to be, like you said, too little too late? The control, the front line still in favor of FNATIC, at least in terms of the barrack.
Oh,
this grenade right there might be able to find it. He does get the post-mortem kill, but it's not going to be enough to really equalize it out. G2 still have a lot to fight for here, up to the 45% FNATIC grab.
Well, Gore, I think we can at this point disregard the Paladins World Championship Speedrun Edition because, again, it is Ice Mines doing Ice Mines thing, but G2 Esports, the team with Inara having less capture percentage up until just this point. Look at the pressure on a Cuskudi right there. Almost thrown off the map again. Taking a lot of incoming fire. Barely gets around the corner. Will be healed up by Maldamba, but in comes the pressure. It's Bittner looking for this Ruckus all the while, trying to find that angle. And back on the objective again. It's FNATIC. The ultimates are coming up. I drop bodies. It's found Fisheko. Here comes the seismic crash, and his Bittner gets shut down as well.
I mean, that was immediately over for him. The minute he jumped off the high ground, he was just in danger. There was nowhere for him to go or feel safe. And now with Dread Serpents coming out, ults being used here by G2, they're looking to try and close this out. 96%, but the kills are going the way of them. FNATIC still have the ability to fight back. Ying forcing herself onto the ability, or on the objective.
And there was an illusory rift that came on through. That Ying was pumping out a ton of healing, Gore, but again, it's the Leon, it's the Death and Taxes talent right there where it shuts it down. Wow, we've seen history right now. G2, they've got themselves on the board with a capture, a point on the scoreboard at LAN. How are you feeling?
I mean, at least you stopped FNATIC from going 9 points in a row, but 8-0 up until this point now, it's not comfortably feeling. You have to kind of reset your mindset of your G2 year. It has to be a literal complete reverse sweep for you to be able to feel comfortable. And right now, kills are still coming out for FNATIC. They're still feeling confident, but if you can keep Fisheko shut down, if you can keep Bittner shut down the way they have, the front lines can only do so much work.
See, here's the thing. I like the aggression from Unbelievable there, but they don't find the kill on the eye drop bodies. That Leon stays alive. X30 picks up a double kill on Maldamba, and Bodies is just going in, looks for, ooh, doesn't go for the Ying, sees that fire spit going in and gets out as quickly as possible. But still, G2 Esports, it's 1 minute and 38 seconds on the clock. It's about halfway through time-wise on the payload push. They're over 50% of the way through on Ice Mines. This is going pretty rapidly, Gore.
Rapidly, but it's also notoriously difficult, especially once you hit this area. Actually, the last 25% of this push, you typically will die. All of that time, that minute and 20 seconds they have on the clock, can disappear in an instant just because of how long it takes to get back to this area if they wipe. So if you're G2 here, you have to be incredibly careful how you approach. And you can see Inara already a low health bar. You have to be very careful not to lose your front line here.
But what I do like about G2's lineup here, Gore, is the ability, sure, Fisheko is throwing out rockets and fire spits around the corner, but every so often there's a frag grenade coming over. That's the big thing for me right here. And I want to see if that will translate to a kill. Unbelievable. Not really giving much ground there, just letting G2 go a little bit further forwards, maybe into the place where they're vulnerable from AoE. And look at this, here's the frag grenade. His Bittner finds one, Dozups gets shut down, and that's a lot of the sticking power away from G2 already.
A nice knockback, but Fisheko is the one that the eyes need to be on. If Evil Eye can take that trade, get ahead of him, and get rid of this dragon, then I think that's exactly what you need to break through this archway. But otherwise, I mean, he's in probably the safest area. There's nowhere he can't see for G2 to approach, and so every single step of the way, every step they try to take towards him is going to get spotted out, called out, and potentially end in a death for G2.
And I love the fact that you've also just got this illusion up there for Ying as well, right? You've got this constant throughput healing coming through for the Drogos, but they're very low health, got to get away, but there's victory. Evil Eye finds one. Will I drop bodies clean up any more? As on the front line, Ruckus is looking for the shutdown. Bittner picks up another. Drop bodies, drops Bugsy right there, and it's just the Ashe left defending. Will we be able to see this conversion go through?
A beautiful couple of headshots, and now Overtime's going to be taking through, and that is going to be comfortable for them. Enlightenment comes out, and Evil Eye is going to steal that one away, so it's going to be no 50% reset there for the Leon on her ult, but the pressure's still on. You still have a barrage available, but they don't even need it right now.
No, it's just the barrack on the objective. Bowling ball reset comes through. Failsafe keeps them alive for a second, but it's not enough there. And G2 Esports, they fight back 2-0 conversion in game 3, Gore, and they're looking pretty, well, pretty.
I mean, it's definitely something I was curious about looking back at the map bans, right? You see Ascension Peak, you see Splitstone Quarry banned away by G2, and it's in that area. Those are their pocket maps. Those are the ones that they've been going to all year as the we can take this, especially as a 4-0, maybe as a 4-1 if things go a little awry. But Ice Mines has been that pocket strat. A lot of teams go through, like we had mentioned on the desk, like we mentioned here, for that 3-3. But if you can find yourself up 2-0, if you can control this next objective, then G2 put themselves in a position to push this to game 4.
So, Gore, we also just saw that respawn replay out of the gate right there. It was all about Isbitner on this Cassie. It was a really big thorn on the side of G2 on that early point capture. Do you want to see more aggression going on towards this Cassie this time around?
I want to see more pressure on the Cassie. I also want to see Bittner maybe change up the way he was playing. One of the things he did last round, again, was jump off of this balcony. This is his safe haven. There's walls all around him. There's only a couple ways up here. A grenade is going to be able to lock him down, but you can at least take cover. When he jumps down right here, he puts himself out in the open and could potentially fall down.
Really big, important play right there as well, by the way, folks. As Turret Dominance comes on through, there's the Illusion Rift. It's FNATIC hitting the gas pedal with every single ultimate, but a bit of a sleeper play to start things off. Didn't hit the ultimate Q come through, Gore, but it was a Dragon Punch onto Inara. That's why G2 had no pressure right there. They immediately get rid of that big point tank, and now look at it. Comeback mechanic, 97% and rolling over FNATIC. They wasted ultimates because it wasn't a waste. They needed to win one fight, and that was it for the cap.
I mean, you're looking at the potential for G2 to 4-0, right? If you lose that point as FNATIC, you're looking at a potential of having to go to another map. You want to end it right here. You want to end it as quick as you possibly can, and now you have 2 full minutes to recharge every single ult you just used. Potentially use a couple more if you really want to close this out and tie it out, but comeback mechanic is their best friend, and the beginning of a round, you can drop those ults and feel no problem. I mean, you had mentioned Dragon Punch. It's already about 83%. There's nothing to worry about with this Drogo.
And that's so rapid, right, folks? Can we take a quick look at itemization at all? Because we didn't see that during the post-round right there. And wow, look at this. I was expecting Fisheko to be going into maybe a morale boost with how fast that Dragon Punch is charging, Gore. This is just damage coming out from Drogos right now, which is allowing that.
That's just pure Fisheko effect. That's all that it is. It is him being able to play Drogos the way he plays, the amount of damage he can put out is going to charge that up. It's something that we typically see, but I feel like Fisheko can charge it up just a little bit better with his aim.
And I think that's partially as well just due to the fact that Fisheko plays very safe as Drogos a lot of the time, saving the thrust for critical moments, but regardless, not quite safe enough. Evil Eye finds one, Bugsy will trade. 4-4 right now. Dozops cleans up unbelievable. G2 Esports are putting on a very aggressive defense here.
And drop bodies showing up has made a big difference here as well.
You think?
I think because the last couple games, especially when you look at game 1, right? That Androxus was pretty much nowhere.
Oh,
last
you mean
game,
that drop bodies turn up to play this game?
Now he's finally playing.
Oh,
now
wow,
he's hitting
excellent.
the headshots.
Cool. That's been a really big inconsistency, actually, for G2. You know, on the desk it was mentioned earlier that they hadn't had drop bodies for half the season. They've been playing with the sub-flame effects. Drop bodies is the win condition for me, Gore. If he doesn't turn up, G2, they go home.
A lot has ridden on a couple of players that land for both of these teams all year. FNATIC, it's been Bittner and Fisheko finally showing up, but if you see drop bodies slip, even just once, that's going to be enough. I mean, right here, it's a bad position to be in. You're trying to be able to get it, but you get distraction time.
Right.
Killing the timer right now is all G2 need to do.
So tell me what that matters, Gore. We've got 30 seconds left in this payload push. What will happen here if G2 are able to make that defense?
A nice 3-1 slash line. Of course, it gives FNATIC the comeback mechanic again, but you're still 1 point away at least from being able to take a map. Stop these from being a full sweep, at least in terms of maps, and give yourself some control. It also limits the amount of time that FNATIC can charge ults, although with all 5 up, they don't have to worry about that.
I feel like we should get a barrack skin, by the way. That's the comeback mechanic. I mean, he is the master mechanic, right? It just fits. It just fits, folks. But so far, G2 Esports, they are being forced back. 4 seconds to go. This payload, if it goes through, it will be going through in overtime. Evil Eye has to drop down, waits for some healing to come through from Aldamba, but it's tickled by damage, and that cauterize is stopping the healing from coming through quickly. Even trade so far, 2-2 right now, but again, the respawns for G2 Esports are so much closer to this defense. That's overtime ticking down, and I mean, how do you get through a full health Inara, Gore?
Full health Inara, you have to go through an archway with a Victor throwing grenades constantly at you. There is not a lot of ways to break through there. There's maybe a couple angles to approach it, but overtime starts playing that factor, right? You can't leave the payload. Someone has to stand there, and no matter what, you're not going to be able to survive long. But this was the thing that I think really determined the round. Not only was it the ults being used at the very beginning, you get rid of the Inara, you get rid of the Ruckus, it's the pressure that FNATIC applied immediately. G2 weren't expecting it, and if they can keep them on their toes like that again, that could change this game, at least for FNATIC, because they still have comeback mechanic.
You know, I didn't know that we were playing a new minigame mode during the Paladins World Championship here, Gore. It's Cassie's point-and-click adventure right now, because there is not much pressure going on to Cassie at all in any of the games we've seen so far today. Healing charts led by Maldamba right now. Gore, talk me through this. It seems relatively unexpected.
It's mainly just because G2 have been in control, right? Jera's not charging up his ult enough to be able to get that healing that we typically see out of Ying. Right now, I expect it to be coming through relatively soon. Once he pops that illusory rift, the healing for FNATIC will come up, but it's going to be depending on their health bars, and there's going to be the pop.
Really big damage coming through right there. Big game shots from Cassie. In comes the Dragon Punch, 2 down for FNATIC right now. Looking for the third as I drop bodies, excuse me, on the objective. Goes down immediately on that Lian, and I mean, everybody else is just retreating here, and they're backing up. They don't want to give too much ground, but again, Gore, it's comeback mechanic. It's 93% and rising. No respawns come through, and FNATIC, they take another objective in a row.
Well, based on the last 2 games, this is kind of how you would expect Ice Mines to go, right? This is typically the pacing it goes for, except you expect FNATIC at this point to be the team that's sitting up at 3. The control they've been able to have, at least asserting onto the point at the very beginning and hold on to it. With comeback mechanic, you don't have to spend anywhere near as much time applying that pressure. If you get it early on, you're going to be able to hold it no problem until you get the full point. But it's when now you get maybe a half comeback mechanic or no comeback mechanic when things start to matter. If they can find this push and tie it up, it might actually hurt them a little bit more.
And that's a really big issue there, Gore, that we've got to think about as well. And FNATIC's been skewing and being able to take advantage of that comeback mechanic every single round after the first because of one ultimate, and that's Dragon Punch. How is that turning the tide right now for FNATIC, do you think?
I mean, it's one get rid of Inara free card. She has been such a huge impact. She has Seismic Crash, a huge team-wide stun.
Really big mistakes.
Her health bar, her wall, everything about her kit just makes her so good at being a frontline. In my opinion, probably the best frontline, at least at being a frontline. And Drogoz is the best one at getting rid of her.
She is absolutely Gore, and that deletion potential is so valuable right here. And look at that again, it was used during the point capture. It's at 99%, now 100%. FNATIC is sitting on 4 out of 5 ults in terms of ult economy, and G2 Esports, they're about to match as well. Just Barrage waiting to charge right now, and assert dominance from Ashe. Do they want to use ultimates here to try and even things up 3-3, do you think?
I don't think so. I think FNATIC are going to hold on to it. They might pop a couple, maybe just to the fast-charging ones. You might see an illusory rift, you might see a Dragon Punch, but those are so crucial to their strategy around the point that it's dangerous to try and use them, especially for something that's not going to end the game, not going to close out anything. You are just looking at how to first get past this archway, first conquer G2 right here in their home base, and then start to maybe pop some ults.
Well, the good news is that there's 40 seconds left to do it. The bad news is that G2 are starting to stagger out respawns, keeping the Cassie alive for a little bit longer. On a map with such a long payload push like this, Gore, why is that stagger sort of hidden mechanic so valuable?
With the way things work, your team's going to regroup. That's the way teams are going to play. That's the way FNATIC's going to play. They're not going to approach that payload until they have all 5 members in a comfortable position. Not only is the stagger going to keep them from regrouping in time, but also because of how wide Ice Mines is, how long of a run it is from one base to the other, it's just going to take them forever. That 10 seconds now on the clock has just been burning down G2. If they can hold it here, then they have nothing to worry about for overtime.
Great kill on a FNATIC there as well. That'll take all the wind out of FNATIC's sails right now. They have been cut through and through, and G2 Esports do defend successfully, so they'll retain themselves at 2 points. They're sitting on that 3-2 mark. It's half combat mechanic, Gore, for FNATIC this next round, so not quite as much of an advantage. Quickly again, we often talk about combat mechanic, right, and half combat mechanic. What's the difference between those two?
Full comeback mechanic, you're going to be getting 4% every single in-game tick as opposed to the 3% that you get with a standard. And when you have half that comeback mechanic, it's going to be 4% every other tick. So it's going to get a little faster here for FNATIC. They have to spend a little less time than G2, but it's nowhere near as easy as it would be if you have that comeback mechanic fully enabled for your team. So they are going to have to look at maybe 1.5 engagements, right? They need one good zone if they can win that first fight to get themselves a point. And then you're looking at a team that could potentially push it through and get a 4-point lead and win the map and potentially the set.
Exactly, folks. That's it. That's the big one right now. 3-2 to G2 Esports. It is 2-0 in the set to FNATIC. We are 14 minutes and 45 seconds in, and G2 Esports are looking to close this one out, but it's all 5 ultimates ready for FNATIC. There's the scout. There's the illusory rift. Dragon Punch going on through, looking for the Inara. What an impasse, though. That blocks it off, and this is different, but no, FNATIC does find those ups. Evil Eye quickly answers back. Bugsy finds Cuss Cutie. No frontline for G2, and now they're just relying on damage. Evil Eye pulls out the barrage, but it won't find any kills that aren't illusions.
A little bit of damage going to be able to fall down, but it's just nothing huge. Evil Eye, that ult going offline, didn't cancel it either, so it used the entirety of his percentage, and now you're in an awkward position. How do you retake? The Dragon Punch is gone, and Nara can get back to the point, but there's these big game shots, and it just chunks through her health bar, but a nice impasse, a good wall, fall back. You could stay alive, but Dosups is gone.
And there we go, and look at that, Coscutie goes down as well to the shots from FishEcho. Softened up was that Ruckus by all the damage from his Bittner. I drop bodies does fine too, though. One in trade as Bittner keeps on cleaning up, and it's just about the Cassie story right now for me, Igor. It was Drogo's before, and now it's about this sleeper pick. It's about the Silent Huntress right there, the Hunter's daughter, who is doing so much work for this squad of FNATIC, and now it's 3-3, and things get dangerous for G2.
I mean, it's Bittner. That's pretty much all that needs to be said. The way he's been playing all set, as well as what we've seen online, the way this guy can play can change the pace of the game. And again, feeling comfortable on land has been FNATIC's downfall this entire time. And now they've turned it into G2's most important Ice Mines defense that they're going to have all season. If they can't hold it here, if they can't deal with this Cassie in time, they're going to lose it.
And critically, folks, this is where FNATIC, they can dump ultimates into the push, because they know if they get this 3-3 to a 3-4 in their favor, they're going to win not just the game, but the set as well. The tension is mounting for G2 Esports. Here we go. A seismic crash shut down by Big Game. That's a big kill to start things off. G2 Esports looking for a way to finish off this Cassie, but again, there's the life exchange Ying, and now FNATIC are in full control.
A minute and 30 seconds still left on the clock. 3-3 and ults recharged or full charged here for FNATIC as they're setting themselves up. A beautiful salvo spreads a lot of damage out onto G2, forcing them to fall back and giving this nice balcony control over to FNATIC. If they can keep this pressure up, you can see the payload's already made it through the arch. This is exactly what you need to find success.
Oh, Dread Serpent Barrage had already been used though, so no damage confirmation. Here comes Dragon Punch from FishEcho, looking immediately for the Inara. Doesn't get out scot-free, does get taken down, even trade so far, but here it comes is Bittner. Bugsy, frontlining, FNATIC push it through. Victor just steps away from contesting there, but that one was given up and given away by G2 as the team from Europe takes the 3-0 win.
A return to form for FNATIC, the team that you expect to see come through, get into potentially those finals, and of course now sending home half of the North American teams that were here. Only 2 that were able to show up, and G2 are gone.
And Gore, I'm going to be honest right there, that game could have been a closer one. It could have been a defense right there at the end for G2, but nobody's willing to get in and contest. Missed positioning from the team that qualified automatically out of the PPL for the North American region, and I'm wondering how much not playing through the placement round, not getting the experience that FNATIC had from playing amazing international teams like Kanga and Space Station Gaming, who also qualified for the World Championships, has hurt them.
I mean, now coming into it, you can see FNATIC happy about their ability to stay into this tournament and continue moving, but now they're going to be going up against Na'Vi, which is probably one of the hardest matchups you could have.
They certainly will, and with a set that went 3-0, folks, a sweep for the European team will send things back to the desk one final time to close out this set.
A very clean sweep there for FNATIC as they send G2 home. Welcome back to the desk, everyone. Golden Boy alongside with Kresnik and Bees. And man, I mean, so yes, we ended up getting the 3-3 as we had all predicted, but it really just felt like FNATIC, they were just playing into that first point a lot. They were like, okay, we know that we can just blow them up on this first point, get these caps, get these points, come right back into the game. Because that first round was a little shaky there for FNATIC, not what we had usually seen from them in games 1 and 2. But is Bittner, man, on the Cassie, really being a difference maker toward the end there. Just so many things to take away from that game, Kresnik.
Yeah, FNATIC adapted super well as the set went on. I mean, the big game from Tenor was an incredible, like, just game changer in the focus fire on the Inara. But the very first mid, G2 took the stage area on the side by the cliff, and since they had double backline, they just poked out FNATIC. They couldn't move through any of the chokes they wanted. They got shoved out. Mid 2, ults were online. FNATIC went, well, you want to get to stage, I'm just going to be invincible on stage, and you're not going to touch me. You can't get through me. They got pushed out. They couldn't see the Drogos coming in for the Dragon Punch because they were stuck in that tunnel. Got the Inara every single time, and G2 just couldn't adapt to that.
Yeah, that insta-give, right? The deletion on the Inara really was a difference maker. And we discussed this at length back in game 1, right? How you take out the Drogos, and that's what Na'Vi were doing. They were taking out the Drogos because they knew that it really impacted Inara, which was one of their go-to champions here. And they showed exactly why as we take a look here at the post-game stats. Overall, though, I mean, you know, G2 played very well, but it just came down to clutching up in the end, and FNATIC did that extremely well as well.
Yeah, FNATIC definitely had a more ult-dependent composition over G2, and I think once they got those, as we said, once those ults became available to them, they played it perfectly, they did what they needed to do, and they consistently pushed them out very, very well. I think the first points as well contributes to massively to maybe like the Drogos being a bit more aggressive than he needed to be on the first points. If he'd stayed back a little bit more, even tried to charge his ult on the first point, tried to use the angles a little bit more with the fire spits just for damage rather than direct damage from his actual rocket launcher, he could have survived longer. Because as I said, I didn't think that G2 had the killing potential to finish the kills. They have that constant damage coming out, but how do they secure the kills? And as the games went on and they were a little bit safer, they had the ults online, they took people out, it just became much easier for FNATIC.
Yeah, FNATIC were able to handle that one at the end there. They come out on top. Now they are going to go up against Na'Vi. That will be a semi-final game that I think everyone here is going to be very excited to see. Everyone at home is going to be excited to see, because I feel like FNATIC, they are playing some exquisite Paladins right now, and Na'Vi, that is just what they do. They live in the exquisite, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. So that's going to be a really,
It's the New York.
It's a New York thing, you know. So that is going to be a really, really great matchup for the semifinals tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that one here. And FNATIC, man, they're sending all these North American team home. What's going on, man?
Yeah, it's not a great feeling. But FNATIC, I mean, they always show up, you know, like they, at least online, and they always at least eliminate a few teams on their way out in previous lands. And after, like I said, after overcoming that gap, that mental gap that they had before the qualifier land, I wouldn't be surprised to see them come in just swinging tomorrow's games. Yeah,
it is going to be awesome. Well, speaking of who was swinging, we have our Steel Series MVP, and I believe I was told that it was Bittner, and not shocked on this one. This was actually a fantastic play here. This really was when the game and the momentum started to change, and despite the fact you had the defensive holds from G2 Esports, the pressure that they put in the back line was just so well, and he was always able to recover and always aiming at just hitting every shot, every single shot. It was so nice there.
He's a phenomenal player, I think as well they played so well. When you see them up and both damage up in these corners, they expended 2 ults on top of them. They tried to use the Victor ult, they tried to use the Damber ult, achieved nothing because of it, and it just gave FNATIC such an easier push for the final capture. Yeah,
that's right. Well, that is going to wrap things up for that game. FNATIC win 3-0 over the North American G2 lineup. We do have an interview with FNATIC in the back. Let's go ahead, take a look.
All right, well, we're here with FNATIC, and I mean, guys, that was pretty much surgical, like nothing, no sweat broken. How are you feeling after your win against G2?
I mean, it was sort of sad, no matter what the score looks like, G2 is a good team, and you can't underestimate any other team here. They're all super good.
Alrighty, guys, then one other question from me is, that was a lot easier than I think anybody expected. Coming into this tournament, with G2 being the 2nd seed out of North America, did you guys think that it was going to be quite as clean and easy as it was?
Can you repeat, please? Can you repeat, please?
To repeat the question there, did you think that it was going to be quite as easy as it was to take down G2? It was 2 4-0s in a row for you.
I mean, we have played G2 a lot in the past. We know their strengths and we know their weakness, and that just showed today.
So your next opponent is going to be Nadas Vincier, a team that you have fought countless times at this point, but sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it goes their way. How exactly are you feeling going into that big of a...
I mean, last year there was the grand final on HRX. This time it's the semi-final. We just have to play better as last year and play our game.